Why you don't have to pick a niche to have a successful business. This is the topic of the video today. This is a very common misconception. In fact, it's so common that it's accepted as unquestionable truth. In business and marketing, you always hear it. Niche down. You have to pick a specific customer avatar. You have to have a specific offer or service type. You can't sell too many different things or it's going to dilute your brand and your impact. A confused customer always says no. If you speak to everyone, you speak to no one, etc., etc. You've heard it in different ways. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you why that's not necessarily true. There is a nugget of truth in there. I'm going to explain where that is, in my experience and my client's experience. And I'm basically going to share with you how I refuse to niche down and I still get high paying clients and business is great and I'm having a great time. And I don't have to limit myself with silly, limitations just because somebody out there thinks that that's the only way you can run your business. Now, by all means, if you can and want to niche down and you can be happy about it, this is crucial. If you can niche down and be okay with it and happy with it, you can do it. You should do it because it does make some things a lot easier. It's true that when you pick a specific niche, it's easier to reach these people because you know exactly who you're talking to based on simplistic descriptions, based on labels. You can, for example, if your niche is yoga teachers in XYZ area, it's easier to find those people, right? It's easier to go and target those people. It's easier to saturate the market. There are some benefits to it. It's easier in the copy. But the issue is for a lot of entrepreneurs, for a lot of creators, it's not easy and it's not desirable and it actually drains your soul. And I had this experience when earlier in my journey with Brands Are Alive, where I, as a, I come from like a background of marketing. I was marketing consultant for the longest time and karma is karma. Like I said this to other people without thinking about it, and I was like, niche down, you have to pick a niche, you have to be specific. And I realized that that's not going to work for me. It's not going to work for me because it's silly, because I don't want to limit myself. And I know I can limit myself today and then expand later, but I didn't want to limit myself based on demographics or even psychographics a lot of times. So, things like what is their gender or age or how much money are they making or what's their title and that sort of thing means absolutely nothing, in my opinion. It tells you nothing about the person. And then psychographics aren't necessarily always the answer either, right? Because you don't want to feed people's delusions. If psychographics, for those of you who don't know, and I think most of you know, but if you don't know what psychographics are, is basically instead of niching based on title and age and income and where they live and that sort of thing, you're picking a niche based on things like who do they desire to be and et cetera, et cetera. And there's some element of that with Brands Are Alive. There's obviously what do they want, right? But what do they need is more important. Meaning that sometimes when you're creating a niche based on psychographics, for a lot of marketers, you risk being somebody who feeds other people's delusions and illusions. So if somebody wants to buy the premium product because they think it's going to give them a higher status in society and they're going to get love, and you know that what they really want is love, but they're not going to get it. They're not going to get actual human connection as a result of acquiring that premium product. They're going to feel better about themselves for a few seconds or minutes or hours or days, but then they are going to go back to having the same issue over and over, and they're stuck in this cycle, this never-ending perpetual cycle of wanting to get the thing. Then in some way, if I as a marketer know that the product that I'm selling you is only temporarily going to give you the feeling that you want, and that the real solution lies in you facing your humanity or facing your wounds and healing and doing this inner work, then I think it's my responsibility. I'm not saying it's anybody else's responsibility. And it's not a moral responsibility. It's not an obligation. But I have a responsibility as a marketer. I believe that I shouldn't feed the illusion. I shouldn't, just because you want it, just because the customer wants it, like the idea customer wants it, we give the customer what they want. I don't believe in that. I don't give the customer what they want. I don't give anybody what they want. I give people what they need, what I think is going to give them what they actually really want. So that's how I see it. Okay. And it's up to you as a marketer. You can be like, yeah, that sucker, let's just take advantage of them. But that's your choice. And it doesn't make you a bad person, by the way. Again, this is not a morality lesson or judgment or anything. This is just my perspective. So I don't want to pick people to serve based on any of this stuff. And again, if you can niche down and you can be happy about it, and this is crucial, the component of being satisfied, do it. But you're watching this video because you're probably in the same boat where you realized, I don't wanna, niche down, so to speak. Recently I hired an agency, and we were talking about something, and they were like, well, one of the things that we've noticed is that your audience is too broad. You're talking to people who are, you've got some yoga teachers, and then you have like engineers, and you've got a designer here and a copywriter here, and a coach here, a consultant. Pick something. Is it coach? Is it consultant? Is it social media agency owner? Is it SaaS entrepreneur? And I'm like, I don't care. I will never care, because again, it doesn't say anything about the person. So, how do you move forward with your business? And especially if you don't have a ton of money to advertise yourself to the masses, which again, you shouldn't do. How do you actually define who you're talking to and define the thing that you're offering without having to choose based on these simple descriptives? And here I want to invite you to think of it from a different perspective. You still have to define who you want to talk to, but instead of relying on those things, on demographics or even psychographics, I want you to think about values as a way to differentiate, values as an audience, and interests, or the intersection of your interests. So what do I mean by that? I'll give you an example, again, with Brands Are Alive. By the way, if you're catching me for the first time, my name is Aliana. I am founder at Brands Are Alive. This video, if you're watching it anywhere other than in newsletters, then you should probably go to brandsarealive.com/newsletters and subscribe to the Saturday Mojo. I make a video like this every week. And at Brands Are Alive, we help conscious creators build brands of full self-expression. When we say brands of full self-expression, it means you're bringing all of who you are to your brand, your business, and everything you create, so you can have a masterpiece, something that makes you feel alive, right? Where you have passion, purpose, and of course, financial profitability. So go there, subscribe so you don't miss my videos. How do you define it without those simplistic boop, boop, male, female, age 15 or 18 to whatever? You define it based on interests and values. And I was saying that I was going to give you Brands Are Alive as an example. So at Brands Are Alive, like I just said, conscious creators, that's a very broad. What do you mean by conscious creator? Well, everybody is a creator. Conscious means that you're aware of your choice. You're aware of the fact that you are a creator. Stepping out of the autopilot mode and you're deciding, okay, screw what I've been told so far about what I should want. What do I actually really want to create? That's the kind of the mindset. And it just kind of slipped. I said create a masterpiece. Again, that sounds really broad, right? And in traditional marketing, that's a no-no. You want to be super clear. You want to say, I help coaches create brands of, right? Be clear over clever. And I agree, I'm not trying to be clever, but it's really because that's what I mean. I really mean a masterpiece. I really mean a brand of full self-expression. I really mean conscious creators. And it's not going to be perfectly clear, but guess what? A confused customer or a customer who's not clear is going to do one of two things when they hear what I just said. They're either going to be like, this doesn't do anything for me. I don't care what a conscious creator is. I don't care what a masterpiece is. I don't care what a brand of full expression. It doesn't do anything for me. That's one type of person, and that's okay. They're not meant to hear the message at this time. And then the people that I really want to talk to, they're going to hear that, and there's something that's going to resonate just by hearing those words. They're going to go, conscious creator, a brand of full self-expression. What is full self-expression? What does that mean? And they're going to click and they're going to go and read, and they're going to decide after they understand it if it's right for them or not. But a confused client or a confused customer doesn't always say no. If they're the right person at the right time and it's their time, they're gonna look into it. It's gonna be more of a maybe than a no. It baffles my mind. Like, I was listening to a book the other day. This guy is talking about how you have to capture people's attention. You have to explain to them what you do on your website in the first 10 seconds. And if they don't get it in the first 10 seconds, then you're doomed. And I understand where he's coming from, because they're probably sending a whole bunch of cold traffic to the website, and they're like, we've got this one chance, one opportunity to be immediately impressive. And we're spending money to get their eyeballs, to get their attention. But you don't necessarily have to be immediately impressive. People are permitted to land on your website and bounce and not resonate. It's okay. And come back later when the timing is right. See, I think there's like a difference in thinking, or the core difference in the way I see it and the way most people are seeing it, is that a lot of people just are having a hard time with the trusting part. There's so much of that. I need to control the customer's journey. I have to make you ready for it. This is why you jump on calls with people and they try to sell you on packages that you're not ready to buy. And they're stirring the pain, and they're trying really hard, and they're digging into the desires, and like, be a fast decision maker and all that stuff, because they don't have trust in divine timing, in that things happen exactly at the time that they should happen. And that's not to say you sit on your hands and do nothing. That's to say you do your part, but it's them, the client, the customer, the buyer, they have to make that decision to work with you. You don't decide for them. They have to make that decision. Your job is to get clear on what is it that you're offering and how you're making a change and how you're serving the world. And it's their job to decide if they're ready for it or not. But it's not your job to make them ready with your copy and to make them ready with your marketing. You should motivate them. You should explain to them why they should do it. But again, you should have respect for the time that it takes for people to be ready to do those things. So anyway, going back to the point I was talking about earlier, which is differentiating yourself based on values and interests, and Brands Are Alive as an example. If I had to choose the traditional niching methods that I've been told over and over and over and over that I need to have in my business, I would have had to choose between branding and marketing versus spirituality or mindfulness versus psychedelics and consciousness, exploring consciousness versus self-expression versus art. I would have had to choose one thing and one thing only, and I wouldn't have been able to mix something like brand with full self-expression, and or brand and marketing with philosophy, brand and marketing with spirituality, brand and marketing with psychedelics. I mean, who the heck takes people on trips? What we do at Brands Are Alive, if you're not familiar, is the Essence Amplifier, our flagship program, is a program where, when you go to a traditional brand and marketing expert, they sit you down and they're like, so what do you want to create? And who is your audience? And what is your niche? And, what is your package? And the way we do it is we crack your mind open. We get you to bypass the thinking mind so that you can actually connect with who you really are at your essence. And we help you reconnect with yourself first. And one of the modalities that's available is sacred plant medicine, is psychedelics, again, within legal settings, but it's not necessary for everyone. It's not always the answer. And it's not a requirement. It's just, it's available there to really bypass like strong, deeply embedded ideas and thoughts. It can help you tremendously. It's nothing short. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's life-changing. And I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of these ceremonies. But then there's also sound healing, and there are other, methodologies that we use and modalities that we use that on the surface have nothing to do with branding and marketing. But that's how we help you discover who you really are beyond fear, what makes you feel alive. And then we do branding and marketing. And then we figure out, taking what is it that you truly desire to create, your masterpiece. How can we make it financially profitable? How can we make it resonate with your audience? How can we make it resonate in a way that people are willing to actually spend money on it, right? So that's our method. And if I had asked anyone for their opinion, they would have said, that's crazy. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Choose it. Choose something. You can be a healer or you can be a marketer. You can't be both, You can be a coach, you can be this, you can be that, but you can't be all of these things at the same time. The point is, your interests, all of them have to come into the game, and your values. In our case, the value of autonomy, the value of full self-expression, the value of following one's personal truth without trying to force other people to agree with that, with our truth. The value of wisdom, the value of self-actualization, which is huge for me, the value of self-transcendence. It is the most important thing for me in entire existence, more than anything, is this full self-expression where you understand that you are a unique expression of the universe, of this one divine consciousness, and that you came here to express more of who you are and to create your masterpiece. And if you were to see anybody out there, or any business that's doing this brand of full self-expression and a business that makes you feel alive, if you had heard of Brands Are Alive, you'd be like, what? And they wouldn't even be able to do that, because if you tried to scratch under the surface, it would be fluff talk for them, because they wouldn't actually understand how many years it took for us to develop what we have developed, and the work we had to do. That it might sound clever and cutesy and fun, but actually the reality of it, like, if you give me a few hours, I can explain to you the depth of these ideas and what it really means, because you can't have a business that makes you feel alive until you have your full self-expression. When you're an authentic person, it's hard for you to suppress who you are. It's crucial that your brand expresses who you really are, so that you connect with the right people, so that you create what you are meant to create, and so that you can express the fullness of your essence. This is the core of everything that we do. Does it freaking matter what audience we're talking to, or what they do, and what their age is, and what their gender is? No, it makes absolutely no difference. And even further than that, I know I mentioned the Essence Amplifier as the core offering. I jump on sales calls with people, and there are people who reach out because they need help with productivity. And they realize that they've tried all the productivity tools and all the productivity tips and tricks and hacks, and it didn't work for them. And they realize, oh, the reason why I am not productive in my business is because I don't love what I do, and it's hard for me to force myself to do the work. There are people who reach out, because they have a brand that's beautiful and that's pretty well designed and well established and everything, but they feel like they're suppressing who they really are. There are people who reach out because they have healing to do, and they've tried a therapy, they've tried working with coaches, and they're like, that's not what I was looking for. And they realize, oh, this is more of a spiritual process for me. I really want to dive a little bit deeper than simply working on my mindset or simply working on whatever. All of these things sound vastly different, but in reality, they are unified by the same values that I just mentioned to you before, which is full self-expression, living from a place of joy, wisdom, truth, all of these things. They're united by interests, because they see that I talk about spirituality sometimes. They see that I talk about, whatever, psychedelics, whatever it is. I talk about these topics. I talk about brand, about marketing. One or more of these interests attracts them. And if they're repelled by some of these, that's okay. That's actually great, because that's exactly what we want. We want to be able to repel, but filter, or give the space for people to see, like, am I right for you before you decide that you want to work with me? Like, get to know me from the get-go, from the beginning, right? So, but they reach out for all of these different kind of problems. Seemingly it's different problems. And if I simply decided that I just do brand of full self-expression, and I only talk about branding, and I only talk about marketing, and only talk about, what's going to happen is that somebody will listen to it and go, oh, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not really, the word brand doesn't really resonate with me right now. Maybe I don't necessarily want to build the brand, which wouldn't be the truth, because they wouldn't understand in that moment that their problem is tied to not having a brand of full self-expression. It's like asking the customer or the client, what do you think you want? And then they spit out an answer, and it's not true, but giving it to them, exactly what I talked about earlier in this video, which is, there's a difference between really caring about the people that you serve and giving them what they need, versus asking them what they want and giving them what they're ready to buy, what they're ready to spend money on. Okay, so how you can apply this in your own business is you want to get clear about your why and what drives you and what moves you. and you want to get clear about the change you want to make, and you want to get clear about your values, and you want to get clear about your interests, and you want to talk about them freely. And this isn't to say, hey, I'm interested in black coffee, so I'm going to talk about black coffee. I'm talking about things that are deeply interesting to you, like the spiritual growth or spiritual process of knowing myself and reconnecting with my essence and all that is very important to me. So I can't help but talk about it. Brand and marketing is a passion. I can't stop talking about it in the context of business. Psychedelics is something that changed my life, and I had to, when I realized it started in the beginning. I was telling friends, like some of them happened to be entrepreneurs at the time, but I saw what a difference it made in their lives. And I was like, whoa, okay, we have to bring this into our work. We have to bring this into our practice. So it's not passing, slight interest. These things, the cornerstones that made you who you are today, that are so important to you, that you want to share with the world because you believe in them so much. And don't be afraid if your interests are so different from each other, because that's where the magic happens. If you give it enough time, you're going to connect the dots and you're going to create something that's out of this world, that's uniquely yours. But you have to be willing to sit with that confusion for a little bit. All right. So it's a process of knowing yourself. And if you don't believe me in what I'm saying and you think, well, there's got to be a limit, okay? It's maybe because brand marketing and self-knowing and spirituality, they might be connected a little bit. Maybe because I explained it to you, it makes sense. And you might think, well, certainly you can't sell, I don't know. You know what? Why come up with an example when there is an example out there I can think of right now? There's this one coach I can think of who has personal relationship packages, okay? So like love, personal relationship, whatever, guidance. She has business coaching, and then she also sells bottles of water on her website for like $110 or $111 or something. They have like no, 111. They have crystals in them. Okay, and she sells like journals, and she sells some other stuff that has absolutely nothing to do with any of that, right? And so you might think, well, you can't do personal coaching and business coaching. These are completely different things, but hey, she's doing it. She's doing it. And I'm willing to bet that because her brand is loved by her audience, and because she has a brand I think, she's bringing, I don't know what her full self-expression is. I don't know her on a personal level, but I think she's bringing her at least a great degree of self-expression in the brand, a great degree of knowing herself and showing who she is and who she wants to be, and embracing what makes her feel alive and very connected to her energy. I'm willing to bet that if she were to come up with a product like, I don't know, shoes or, house painting, framed correctly with the right wording, around the values of the business and around the interests of the business, there is probably a way to sell those products. But anyway, I think that's a good time to wrap up this video. There's so much more I wanted to talk about. So hopefully this gave you a little bit of peace around this topic, that you don't have to put everything on hold. You don't have to decide, I don't know what my niche is, so I'm not going to move forward with my marketing until I figured out who do I want to settle on. And instead of focusing so much on defining the niche and sticking with it, just focus on, what is it that's moving you? What's the thing that makes you feel alive? Because that's a unifier. Again, for me, for Brands Are Alive, it's helping you bring your full self-expression, really. It's not about building a brand of full self-expression, but it's about expressing yourself fully, freely, and unapologetically. It happens to be in your brand, your business, and everything you create, the context that we do it in. For you, you have to figure that out for yourself, and you have to figure out what matters to you, your values, your interests, and all of that, and talk about them and share them with the world. Share what gives you joy, and be creative. And don't be afraid to mix them in crazy, unconventional ways, because like I said, that's how you create your magic. All right, that was it for this video. Again, my name is Aliana. I am founder at Brands Are Alive, where we help conscious creators like you build a brand of full self-expression and a business that makes you feel alive. Thank you for watching, and I'm going to put a link in the description for something that'll help you, like a little bit more strategic or tactical, if you will, brand positioning. It's a little exercise, and if you do it, maybe it'll help you kind of create more clarity about your so-called niche. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.